First love is a powerful thing. It can be intoxicating, overwhelming, obsessional, sweet, joyous, and all-encompassing all at the same time. As we grow and develop from children to the adults we will ultimately become, the first love is a rite of passage that sees us dip our toes into the world of relationships, coexistence, compromise, romance, and empathy. While some people marry their childhood sweetheart and do so successfully by creating an adult relationship with both parties growing together as a couple, but it's nonetheless very rare for our first love to be the person we marry or otherwise create a life partnership with. In a world where groups of friends can become entangled as the result of relationships forming, love triangles are not uncommon, and they can make these first forays into relationships more of a quagmire to navigate. But these triangles generally resolve themselves with minimal fuss. But what happens when a love triangle becomes acute? Where unrequited love from a former partner becomes a limerent obsession. That's what we see in today's case, where a relationship ends in high school and a new one starts in college. But that is complicated by the fact that the participants were in high school together, and it does not end well for one of them. This is the disappearance of Christian Aguilar, and this is Murder of Crows. This case starts in Doral, Florida, and we will be looking at a group of friends. At high school in this area of Miami, childhood friends Christian Aguilar and Pedro Bravo had started dating Alyssa Ortiz and Erica Freeman, respectively. In the case of Pedro Bravo and Erica Freeman, they started dating in sophomore year, with Erica particularly liking that Pedro made her laugh. But as time went on and the pair progressed into senior year, Erica began to find Pedro's manner quite tiresome. And with the students all planning for college and pastures new, it struck Erica as a good time to draw a line under her relationship with Pedro, with her telling the young man that she needed a break from their relationship. But when this sent Pedro into something of a depressive slump, Erica couldn't bring herself to end things completely with the relationship, and the relationship limped on into the summer of 2012. Erica was planning to attend Santa Fe Community College in Gainesville, Florida, and she put her foot down, telling Pedro that a long-distance relationship wasn't going to work for her, and that she didn't see a future with him. While Pedro was desperately upset and cried, Erica ultimately felt like a weight had been lifted from her. Having detangled from Pedro Bravo, Erica Freeman was able to start in Gainesville with a blank canvas, just as she had hoped. But two things happened in quick succession that complicated matters in the lives of Pedro Bravo and Erica Freeman. The first was that Erica, in her early days at college away from home, found comfort and friendship with a fellow student at college who was also a friend from high school. Christian Aguilar was also attending Santa Fe Community College, and he and Erica began spending time together, perhaps helping each other through any feelings of homesickness. And as they grew closer, their feelings became romantic, and the two began dating, though they both agreed that they needed to keep things on the down low so as not to further upset Pedro. But this would become more difficult when Pedro changed his educational plans to also enroll at Santa Fe Community College, thus evaporating the distance that Erica was hoping would heal any wounds Pedro may have felt following their split. Erica found that Pedro had spiraled into deep depression as a result of their earlier split, and this convinced Erica and Christian to be even more careful about keeping their developing relationship a secret from Pedro, for fear that the news could tip the fragile balance in Pedro's mind, pushing him towards suicidal ideations. So the clean break that Erica had planned for was gradually becoming a muddy mess, with Pedro being on her doorstep, and the relationship between the three of them complicating a situation that should really have been a happy time. And worse still, it appeared that Pedro was determined to win Erica back. Oh, shit on a stick. On September the 20th, 2012, things changed irrevocably, as Christian Aguilar seemed to vanish into thin air. The last person known to have seen Christian was his childhood friend, Pedro Bravo. And as investigators, who were desperate to find the 18-year-old student, spoke to Pedro about their trip to buy a CD, it became concerning that Pedro's story changed over time, but ultimately involved Christian having picked up a hitchhiker.
Arguing? Mm-hmm. Because I think he said, I said, you don't understand what I'm going through. First he got frustrated and angry at me, and he's like, stop the car, I want to get off. In my mind, I'm like, fine, you don't want to help me? Don't help me. So I stopped the car and I let him get off and I drove away. And then that's the last I heard of him.
He was brought back for another interview to determine if he told the truth earlier. His account of events kept changing.
And why didn't you tell me that the first time?
I forgot. Honestly, I'm sorry, but I forgot.
Yeah.
I might have been drowsy from the pills and I don't remember.
So
I hit him in the face and I made him get out.
But there's a little more to that, and I think that you need to be honest about it. You need to tell me what else happened, because something else happened besides just that. Okay? Something else happened, and you need to be honest with it, because if that's all that happened, he would have went somewhere, called the police to get his phone and to get his stuff.
Well,
We know that he's not coming back, okay? I know he's not coming back. I've been doing this for too long. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know when somebody's coming back, when they ain't coming back, he ain't coming back. You know he's not coming back. No, you need to tell the truth. We can help you a little bit as far as if you can explain things. But just to find him in a couple of weeks and not be able to explain it, Pete, you got to tell the truth.
will I still be able to go home with my parents tonight if I...
I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you can go home tonight, okay? You know, it's something that we got to work on, okay?
He claimed that after dropping off the hitchhiker, the disagreement with Christian got physical, with Pedro saying, "I stopped the car and I just punched him in the face." And he went on to say that he kept punching Christian after he was out of the car, with Bravo saying, "I could see he was okay, but he was not going to get up anytime soon. And then I got in my car and left." And Bravo's apparent lack of concern raised a red flag. Pedro was arrested for failure to render aid based on his statements about harming Christian and leaving him helpless. And this meant that authorities could hold Pedro as they continued investigating. A search warrant was obtained for Pedro Bravo's vehicle, and inside detectives found a Gatorade bottle and a roll of duct tape. Dirt and limestone found on the vehicle's undercarriage was determined to be from Levy County in Gainesville. On October the 12th, 2 people in that area were alerted to what they believed to be the smell of a decomposing animal, but they had stumbled upon human remains in a shallow grave and contacted sheriffs. Only skeletal remains were found, but clothes found in the area matched what Christian had been wearing. DNA derived from a hip joint and dental records confirmed that the body was that of Christian Aguilar. Duct tape found with the remains was sent to the crime lab, where it was compared to the duct tape found in Bravo's vehicle. And analysts determined that tape at the burial site was from the same tape roll that was found in the car. Detectives initially believed that Pedro Bravo acted in a fit of rage, but analysis of the Gatorade bottle revealed that it was laced with sedatives, which in itself indicated that the crime was premeditated. Bloody fluid from Christian's lungs that had seeped into the carpet indicated that he had most likely been strangled. A search warrant was secured for Pedro Bravo's home, where detectives found a receipt for a shovel. They also found journals filled with disturbing entries detailing Bravo's step-by-step plan to win back Erica by making Christian disappear. Taking all of this information together, authorities postulated that Pedro Bravo had sedated Christian Aguilar using a concoction of drugs in a Gatorade bottle before using a belt or a strap to strangle Christian. Authorities believe that the murder occurred inside Pedro Bravo's SUV in a Walmart parking lot in Gainesville, Florida. They found evidence such as a cracked windshield covered in duct tape and blood stains on the car's seats. Other evidence included a blood-stained paint can, blood-stained shoes, and several signs of a violent struggle. Authorities later found a mud-covered shovel behind Bravo's apartment, and they alleged that he likely used that shovel to bury Aguilar's body. Information on how precisely they found this shovel will come later. As detectives focused in on Pedro Bravo, they went into detail in analysing his detailed journal, and it was extremely incriminating, including the fact that he was aware that Erica and Christian were now dating, and Pedro felt really let down and betrayed, and his obsession with Erica was ramping up his rage and his determination to ensure that Erica ended up back with him. When surveillance footage from the night before Christian's disappearance revealed Pedro buying a shovel, sleep aid medication, duct tape and bandages, it began to look all the more ominous. And even though Pedro's account changed several times, he remained adamant that he had not killed his long-time friend. As police and prosecutors worked to solidify the case against him, they learned that Pedro Bravo allegedly shared his plan with another county jail inmate, where he planned to have other murders committed to make it look like the killer was still at large. Investigators confirmed that the cellmate was telling the truth, because his information was what led them to the shovel used in the crime. This piece of evidence fortified a case that was already very strong. And on August the 4th, 2014, Bravo's trial began. And an entry in his journal was read out stating, "I am a monster for having hurt Christian." Erica Freeman testified that she contacted Bravo after Christian Aguilar didn't show up for plans with her that night, as she knew that the two had been together. Bravo then told her that they had gotten into a fight, and Freeman and Bravo then went together to report a missing person to Gainesville Police Department and University of Florida Police. And it was after this that a community-wide search was launched for Christian Aguilar, with this search being ultimately called off on October the 5th. But then hunters found his remains in a shallow grave on October the 13th in a wooded area in Levy County. The state claimed that Bravo drugged and then strangled Christian Aguilar with a moving strap on the night of September the 20th in the parking lot of the old Walmart on Northwest 13th Street. Police recovered the belt from the back seat of Bravo's blue Chevy Blazer. Bravo's former cellmate, Michael Angelo, not that one, told the court during his testimony that it took Bravo 13 minutes to kill Aguilar with the moving strap that had been found in the back seat.
Cellmate of Pedro Bravo takes the stand, telling the jury that Bravo admitted to planning the murder of UF student Christian Aguilar.
And Local 10's Terrell Fournay has been in court all day. He has more on this explosive testimony. Terrell.
Yeah, Victor and Janine, what a wild confession if true. But the man who was on the witness stand today has quite the rap sheet. Nonetheless, jail guards brought him here to the courthouse for one more shred of evidence in their case against Pedro Bravo. Shuffling through the courtroom in an unmistakable prison uniform, Michelangelo, a 9-time convicted felon and former gang member, speaks about the days he shared a cell with Pedro Bravo.
Did he ever discuss with you whether or not he made a plan about killing Chris?
Yes, sir.
Chris Aguilar was Bravo's friend and a UF freshman who disappeared 2 years ago. The 18-year-old had been dead 3 weeks before hunters eventually found his partially buried remains in a remote field.
I am a monster for having hurt Chris the way I did, and monsters shouldn't exist in this world. Does that sound like the letter he read to you?
Yes, sir.
Bravo, who was immediately suspected of the killing, wrote that suicide note, which was found in his jail cell just days after his arrest. And he allegedly didn't hold things back with his cellmate.
I think originally he said that he was going to try to poison him with a mixture of sleeping pills and pesticide and mixed with soda or something, like I guess soda. And his backup plan was to have a knife, to cut his throat in case it didn't work.
Blood was found in Bravo's SUV, where prosecutors believe he was strangled to death, all in a Walmart parking lot, where Bravo was seen on video buying a shovel.
After he had got back in the driver's seat and he was, I guess riding around to dispose of the body, that it was making a sound like, and that's the reason that he held on to the driving strap while he was riding around, because it freaked him out.
Yeah, pretty tough to hear, but it did appear that the jury was focused on every word from that prison inmate. We all know that Christian's body was found in Levy County, quite a few miles away from here. And coming up in the next hour at 5 o'clock, we'll hear more on what Pedro Bravo allegedly said to that inmate about dumping the body in that field, and also some more evidence about how he apparently was able to overpower Christian in the back of his SUV. You don't want to miss that. That's coming up at 5:30. That's the latest here in Gainesville. I'm Terrell Fournay, Local 10 News.
Angelo said Bravo told him he put Aguilar's body in the ground after he dug a hole and then covered it up with a shrub and rocks. The defense maintained that the two men fought, but that Bravo did not kill Aguilar. A forensic examination of Pedro Bravo's phone determined that Bravo's phone was in the area of Walmart for over 2.5 hours on September the 20th. And system logs showed that the flashlight application on Pedro Bravo's phone was also used that night for over 48 minutes. A number of Florida Department of Law Enforcement crime lab analysts testified with several pieces of evidence presented by the state. One piece of evidence was a Gatorade bottle containing acetaminophen and diphenhydramine, drugs which are used in manufacturing pharmaceutical products, and importantly, that promote drowsiness. Bravo told the jury that he had drunk the poisonous concoction in a failed suicide attempt. Additional testimony revealed that duct tape recovered from the ankle of Aguilar came from the same roll of tape that had been found on the dashboard of Pedro Bravo's car. A DNA profile of Christian was obtained from a toothbrush, and this profile was then used to determine that blood on a floor mat, a paint can, and a shoe insert inside Pedro Bravo's car matched the DNA of Christian. Associate Medical Examiner Martha Burt recalled going to the site and seeing a grey duct tape-like material looped around the wrists, ankles, and neck of the body. She said dental records were used to positively identify Christian Aguilar. Pedro Bravo testified in his own defense. He was the only witness the defense called while presenting its case to the jury. Pedro Bravo testified that he and Christian Aguilar fought after having a discussion about his suicidal thoughts. But ultimately, Aguilar was left on the side of the road. While in jail, Bravo wrote in a suicide note, "It's selfish, it may be the wrong move, but I'm in here, so the move has already been made." Along with the quote, "I am a monster for hurting Chris." When the prosecution cross-examined Bravo, he maintained that he did not kill Christian Aguilar. Pedro Bravo was found guilty of first-degree murder, false imprisonment, poisoning, tampering with physical evidence, giving false information on committing of felony, giving false information concerning a missing person case, and unlawful transportation of human remains. Aguilar's family and friends were silent as the verdicts were read. They left the courtroom hugging and began crying once outside. Bravo watched the clerk read the verdict with no reaction. He appeared calm, and minutes later he addressed the judge who was about to sentence him, with him saying, "There's no depth of words to the heartache that his family, my family, and anyone involved in this has gone through." It was a solid start, and he sounded remorseful at first, but very quickly the tone changed, with him saying, I know in my heart and I know in my actions that day, and I know God as well knows, that I did not kill Christian Aguilar. Aguilar's father pleaded with the judge to impose the maximum sentence, with him not being able to fully describe the pain of losing Christian. Today, in my heart, thanks to God, there is no room in my heart for hate and revenge, said Claudia Aguilar, who's Christian's mother. The judge ultimately sentenced Bravo to life in prison with no possibility of parole for the murder, with the judge saying, "You took his past, everything he had been. You took his present, everything he was. And you took his future, everything he would have been," said Judge James Colaw. The Gainesville Police Department released a statement saying, "The men and women of the Gainesville Police Department stand relieved with the family of Christian Aguilar, as a jury found Pedro Bravo guilty of first-degree murder." For weeks, members of the Gainesville Police investigated the disappearance of Christian Aguilar and searched tirelessly for him. It quickly became clear that a missing persons case had turned into a murder case. A very detailed investigation was completed that revealed Pedro Bravo was undoubtedly responsible for the murder of Christian Aguilar. Our officers worked non-stop to provide the best possible case to the state attorney. I am extremely proud of the thorough investigation completed by the Gainesville Police Department. A spokesman is further quoted as saying, "I trust that the expert testimony of our department members played a large role in the success of the case. I hope that the family of Christian Aguilar now has some sense of closure." Pedro Bravo is now serving his sentence in the Okeechobee Correctional Institution, which is part of the Florida Department of Corrections. And that was the case of former friends becoming mortal enemies, at least on one side of the friendship. Obsession, jealousy, and anger all added up to Pedro Bravo murdering his friend for dating a woman that had already broken up with Pedro. In yet another example of "if I can't have you, then no one can," Pedro Bravo eliminated his love rival, then tried to convince the authorities that Christian Aguilar was alive when Bravo left him at the side of the road. His cellmate, while awaiting trial, added the final nail to Bravo's freedom, testifying to Bravo's jailhouse confession. Even though it seems that there was premeditation in Bravo's actions, the death of Christian Aguilar remains senseless and was driven by the age-old motive of jealousy. Christian's only crime was developing romantic feelings for an old friend after they spent more time together. He was a real innocent, and this video is of course dedicated to the memory of this young man who was killed before his life could really begin. And I truly hope that he is at peace.
Okay, 2 families were destroyed. Because I cannot say that Pedro's family, they are monsters or that they are bad people. What their son did is wrong. I hope he never did it. Unfortunately, he did, but he destroyed 2 families with that actions.
Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I'm Steve. This bumbling lummox is Samson. And we will see you when we see you.